Yeah, blood pressure's not too bad. 146 over 87.
For
Could be for a guy
relatively
your
heavy
size.
chap.
Yeah,
So that's too fucking bad.
You're not hypertensive. Let's write that down. 146.
What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be reacting to James Hollingshead and him getting his blood work, annual visit with Dr. Matt. So here he's showing a little behind the scenes of getting a health check in a PCT. So a lot of people sent me this. You know, there's been a lot of lab work videos lately. I'm trying to get caught up on the ones that have been most requested, and this one was interesting because this is a guy who's like a top, you know, Olympia contender. So it's gonna be interesting to see what his blood work is like, especially the fact that he's in PCT, to see what kind of being in PCT does to his biomarkers, you know, what the logic is in going through PCT instead of going down to a TRT replacement amount when presumably you're, you know, on a, like, you're probably not going to be recovering very much actual HPTA function to begin with, you know, after you're coming off of a heavy blast and then doing a PCT for like, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks. But, you know, it can take burden off of certain organs and physiologic functions that otherwise are taxed with excessive androgens in the system, even at, you know, like athlete TRT amounts, which a lot of people are not actually going down to TRT. They're going down to like 200, 300 milligrams. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly the logic is there, what the blood work looks like, what the doctor says, etc. So let's get into it. I'm going to put it on 1.25 times speed, by the way, just to get through it a bit quicker on my end, because otherwise the video is going to be like an hour. And I'll try and skip around a bit too, so then it's not like, you know, I tend to ramble.
Right, guys, we are at Muscle Works, Orpington, and we are doing something very important today. We're getting our blood work done. Obviously, it's been a very busy year with shows, and one thing that my coach Patrick has requested and actually asked me to do is get my blood work done. And doing that is wearing Checkup one t-shirt. But yeah, he's done already. So yes, obviously we've come to do this at the same time because we've both done our PCT together. So yeah, basically we've come to get blood work done so we can feed back to Patrick and just see that we're in a good spot to go forward with next year's preparations for the Mr. Olympia. Healthy we are now, better it's going to be. So let's go see Matt.
Right, so he wants to see his baseline, what he's at essentially. Like, this is where you should be at your healthiest, ideally, if you're gonna have no transition time from after PCT and letting yourself kind of reach homeostasis. Because presumably he's probably on PCT drugs right now too. So that's going to have some sort of impact on your biomarkers and other things in the body as well. So we shall see.
I can't believe he's done already. I was downstairs eating. We're literally peeing in cups.
We're peeing in cups, yeah.
Okay. So what are we looking for in his pee?
What we're looking for? Well, there's 2 things going on, right? So we've got sort of 7 different markers. So firstly, we're looking at, has Louis got any infection?
Oh God.
So we're not, you know. So we're looking for what's called white cells.
Yeah.
Okay. If you've got bacteria in the urine, some certain type of bacteria produce nitrates as a breakdown product. We look at them.
Yeah.
Look at protein. That's very important for you boys as bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Because if your kidneys aren't working so well, you start losing protein.
Yeah.
Which
you get bubbly pissed.
Yeah, you shouldn't do.
Yeah, so this is something that often goes overlooked, like basic, you know, getting blood work done. That's the thing that everyone says to get. Make sure you get your blood work. But no one really talks about other stuff like a basic urine analysis. You would think is like common practice, but no, it's often overlooked, and guys will just be getting their standard lipid panel, hematology, endocrinology, metabolic parameters, etc., and then foregoing actually seeing like how your body's excreting things, if there's excessive things that shouldn't be there in the urine, stuff that you want to be looking for to ensure you have adequate organ function. And then as well, on top of that, ideally you would be getting some sort of yearly imaging, at least of your heart, echocardiography, stuff like that. So I'll continue from here.
Okay, and also we're looking for many sugar in you guys, because a lot of you guys sometimes, depending on what you're taking, if you are, a lot of guys taking growth hormone, it can raise your sugar levels and you become diabetic. So I've heard a few bodybuilders do.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking for any free sugar in your urine.
Yeah.
And if you're, and also out of interest, let's say you were doing intermittent fasting or you're eating a low carb diet, it'd be interesting to see how many ketones are in your urine. So that's a urine sample.
Good, man.
Right, we're going to go through things.
Yep.
We're fine. I haven't seen you since lockdown.
Yeah, so before my shows. So I've done 2 shows since then.
Yeah, you've been a busy boy.
Busy lad.
Let's start with now. We'll
oh, now it's easy.
Yeah, what's now?
So right now PCT's been complete. We've done the same as me. So I've done 4 weeks, 3 weeks of HCG.
So, you know, the one thing that stood out to me off the bat, I'm not saying this is, you know, he should be doing something else or whatever, but the title is my annual visit. And then he's saying how he did 2 shows since he saw him last. So, like, I don't know how frequent this is done. I'm sure I don't know, like, I can only speculate, you know, but I'm just going to tell you guys right now, like, I would recommend more than 1 annual visit. So, like, I'm assuming this title is not indicative of how much he's actually checking, but annually is not going to be frequent enough if you're exposing yourself to super physiological amounts of drugs consistently.
Sorry. 3 weeks of intensity.
Yeah.
With tamoxifen and extremely low dose test prop.
So this is not really actually coming off. This is where like the discrepancy between like when pros say, oh, I came off and I PCT'd, like no one believes them anymore, because there's always like, they always say that, but they actually mean like nothing is 300 mgs a test or something like that. Now I'm assuming he probably wasn't on that much, and test prop, like presumably it's to get it out of your system faster with a short ester and to get to a state of hormone clearance quicker. And perhaps it was just to keep him like functioning at a normal level while he kind of transitioned into the PCT. I don't really know, but either way, like this is not actual post-cycle anything. Like you're on testosterone still. You know, when you have any amount sitting there, until it's cleared out of your system sufficiently, you're going to be suppressed from it. So your PCT is not really like a PCT, like, you know what I mean? So anyways, that's just of note.
Yeah, and then we did
How much tamoxifen?
30 mg a day.
So we think how many weeks was the last time you had a proper dose of anabolic?
That proper was
about 6 weeks ago.
yeah,
6 weeks
yeah.
ago. What I was saying to Louis is, I think the stuff.
So a proper dose of an anabolic, which presumably means a synthetic anabolic agent derived from testosterone, but not testosterone itself. So testosterone is still in the equation, which is not traditionally an anabolic steroid. It is an androgen, but it is still a, you know, anabolic androgenic steroid by most of our definitions, and is something that will, you know, keep you shut down. So anyways, that is of note.
Studies show that if you take a PCT, your normal testosterone will come back what you're normal at, roughly, whatever that is. If you do it,
So he's like, I have no idea what the fuck that is. Which, like, when you've been blasting and cruising for that long, it's like the likelihood that you think you're going to get back to what you should be, like, whenever you last had natural testosterone levels is, you know, extremely low. Like, first of all, you're already going to be getting slowly suppressed as you age just by the aging process. But then when you, like, literally stress the fucking shit out of your HPTA on a continuous basis with blasting and cruising all these synthetic drugs for years on end, like expecting yourself to return to some sort of baseline that you've seen previously is like a fucking long shot, dude. Like, even in, like, it would literally take some of these guys like over a year to restore back to like a baseline that would even allow you to function as a human naturally with some like in range level. For a lot of people, it's not as a matter of just like clear it out of your system, do your 4-week PCT, and then you're good to go. Like, no, for most of these guys, it's not going to be that simple, unfortunately. Not that it matters though, because they're not planning on being off for months on end. They're planning, like, the whole goal of these PCTs is essentially to honestly try and restore health as much as possible. But, you know, oftentimes I will see it's more of a way to like achieve a good looking blood test result, which transiently is like kind of irrelevant when you're literally fluctuating up and down to the point of you're just on a shit ton of stuff and then you crash yourself and then you go right up to a shit ton of stuff. Like, oftentimes it's just, it seems like it might even be healthier to just go down to HRT rather than let yourself like crash into the abyss and take potentially toxic SERMs, aromatase inhibitors, whatever it is that you're deploying during your PCT regimen, when you could otherwise just go down a physiologic replacement instead of put yourself in a neurotoxic, cardiotoxic, etc. environment for 6 to 8 weeks while you try and like achieve a reasonable looking HDL level that you know is only going to be reasonable for fucking 4 weeks. So that is sort of my stance on bodybuilders trying to like PCT after like blasting for 10 and a half months straight or something like that.
Let's see, without anything, so about 3 months.
Yeah.
So you don't get actually that much out of it. So if you go cold turkey, it takes it another month, and I think it's normally around sort of a month off you start feeling.
Yeah. It's a funny thing because I feel actually really good.
Yeah, you do.
It's never felt
good.
fresh mentally.
How long have you have off?
It was at least, well, we're only going to go to that TRT in like January, I didn't know it's So we've still got a few more weeks even like this.
What's sort of TRT for you?
I haven't asked yet. It's going to be quite low. It's going to be probably about 175.
Oh, okay.
TRT. They do 500 every week, like 2 weeks or a week. It's too much.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I'm like not exactly following what the plan is here. So he's doing a PCT, which he had test prop in the mix, and then he's going to TRT after transitioning off of the PCT. I'm not really like what is the point of taking tamoxifen and HCG during the PCT phase if you're not actually trying to restore anything? Wouldn't it just make more sense to just stay on the HRT then rather than have these fluctuations? I don't know. Like I just don't see the logic, rather than if it's to just like transiently restore like a good looking blood panel for the sake of like feeling good about it and being like, look, I had a good HDL for 6 weeks. Like, I don't really see what other point there would be, unless you had, I guess if you had like fatty liver or something like that, and you like really wanted to pull out androgens and relieve a lot of stress that may otherwise have accumulated. But otherwise, you know, I see the fluctuation of an introduction of these PCT drugs just to go back to TRT after, and the goal is not even actually to restore endogenous T levels. It's like, well, I don't know, I might have just like stayed on the TRT then. And it sounds like test prop is in the mix during the PCT, so I'm like, maybe I'm just like not following, but to me it sounds I don't know.
So it'll be, and then once we know when off season begins.
How long are we going TRT for?
Depends when the off season begins. We're gonna have to start quite soon because obviously I've got to get ready for the end.
Yeah, what I would say with the TRT is it's always interesting to know to do a test level on the day of your next dose of TRT to see where you're at.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys I see who think they're taking TRT, they're double the normal range.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I want you to be right at the top of the normal range, if not a bit higher, because testosterone levels now are not what they were back in the 60s. Right, so
yeah, so they're talking about, you know, doing like actual TRT, you know, within a physiologic range rather than doing the classic, you know, like I'm on TRT, bro, but I'm actually on, you know, 300 mgs a test. Just so happens my HRT clinic prescribes DECA too, so, you know, 200 DECA, and then, you know, some like ridiculous clinics will be like, you know what, here's like Anadrol for your HRT too. Like obviously you're outside the realm of HRT well before you even threw in the DECA and the Anadrol. So, you know, that's what like some bodybuilders are doing for their HRT, which obviously is ridiculous, and like both these guys can see that that's not what is trying to be done.
What sort of supplements are you taking, man?
Got everything, mate.
Everything.
Like,
I forgot to say I was going to get you to bring a bag. And
yeah, I've got literally freaking, you name it, vitamin D, vitamin E, K2, fucking curcumin,
right,
tudka, ashwagandha, right, ubiquinol.
Oh yeah.
Like all of it, mate. Fish oil, omega-3. I think
you've got a friend that gives it to you.
Well, because we get it through sponsors now, so yeah. So I make sure I'm taking everything: glutathione, liposomal.
Do Redcon make all that stuff? I've never gone through there.
Nah, not all of it. They got quite a lot of stuff, but not that. I have to get them bits myself.
Right, are they more sort of proteins?
Generic,
and sort of.
We do have a good product called Medkit, which has got like a lot of the stuff in. Right. But the more like kind of let's say higher end stuff like the tudka or the glutathione, liposomal, you have to get it individually.
Because I was saying to Louis that.
Yeah. Yeah, some of this stuff is really cost prohibitive because it's like I want to sell a lot of this stuff through my company as well. But like ubiquinol, for example, minimum order quantity insane with the amount you're paying and the amount you have to order, and then the amount of people that are actually going to buy it and how niche it is. It's like it's really hard to actually afford and justify some of these products. Like some of them are a bit easier, like citrus bergamot. Some of like the things that are not in soft gel format that are a bit easier to make work, you know, astragalus extract, curcumin, enhance the bioavailability with bioperine, you know, basic shit like that is not that hard to do. And that's why we have that through Gorilla Mind as well. But some of these soft gels and stuff, like you get into like competitive when you're trying to even match the, you know, big dogs like Jarrows, Doctor's Best, etc. You know, it can become like pretty fucking difficult when you are, that's not like your main focus. You're not like a health supplement company, and you know that you're just like not going to sell very many of them. They're going to sit on the shelf for a while, even though you want to be the company that has every single thing. You know, it gets pretty complicated and it gets pretty hard. And that's why, you know, even Redcon, one of the biggest companies, doesn't have some of these single ingredient stuff that's like really everyone should be taking, you know, like omega-3. I don't think they have that. Ubiquinol, they definitely don't have that last I checked. And other stuff like that. That is, you know, just the numbers don't really make sense unless you're like really fucking gung-ho about trying to be like an industry leader in that particular super expensive niche product. Not that fish oil is niche, but I mean like, so it gets into like rough territory when you're trying to justify some of these like massive order quantities with some of these products that are a bit more highly specified.
There's a phenomenal pharmaceutical fish oil that I recommend.
What one is it you like?
Omega-3 zone. It's pharmaceutical. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, good omega-3 is a very important supplement.
Yeah,
it's essential actually.
Essential.
Do you need pharmaceutical fish oil? No, you don't.
Your coach says, I know who was Ian, I think Ian Van said if there was one supplement he had to pick, like, to give people off of all of everything you could have wanted, he said omega-3. That's his one, but
yeah,
it's definitely up there.
I think a quality multivitamin, vitamin D, creatine.
Yeah, creatine's actually really good for you.
It's a nootropic as well.
It's great for your thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how many benefits creatine actually has aside from just intramuscular volumization, strength, etc. Myostatin inhibition, neurology, fertility. There's so many fucking things that creatine does that a lot of people don't account for, and it is a very, very useful broad spectrum ingredient. Reduces methylation demand off the body if you have MTHFR polymorphisms. A lot of things that aren't talked about because it's just seen as a muscle builder, and that's like pretty much it. But anyway.
Yeah, vitamin D. I would take a decent magnesium supplement.
Yeah, glycinate. Magnesium glycinate.
I'm not sure if it really makes that much difference.
There's some they say.
Yeah.
I kind of disagree. I think that the format of magnesium actually can make a big difference, and there's a reason why I spend more to put bisglycinate in Gorilla Dream rather than some cheap shit that is not going to absorb as well. It may not be tolerated digestively as well. A myriad of different reasons, but magnesium, the format you choose, there is a big difference between the cheap shit and the good shit.
Before bed, and on a budget, and then the fish oil, quality fish oil. I was talking to Louis. If a fish oil tastes of fish, it's rancid, and it's actually doing more harm to your body than it is.
Yeah, it's a good one. Won't taste of fish. That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a great point of that.
Yeah. If you burp up fish, then you know you've just wasted your money.
You just had some rancid
oil,
dead oil.
Yeah, and sort of cod liver oil. It's full of mercury and other toxins and all over. We digress. So So any other supplements?
Wow. Yeah, because I use like the supplement in CV Stack, which has like a lot of heart health. So it's initiative. I can't even name them.
Yeah. Who do you make your supplement needs?
Supplement needs make a lot of the health ones we use because they're just Dr. Dean. You know, Dr. Dean.
Yeah, I've looked at. The good thing about them is that they actually have pharmaceutical grades. So not pharmaceutical grade, but
it uses the bioavailability.
And the appropriate dosage.
Yes.
Because a lot of these supplements, when you go to the cheaper
markets,
oh man, it's got ashwagandha, it's got
rhodiola,
20 mg, and it's got it's nowhere near. But
Yes, that's a pretty common practice for supplement companies to include a dosage that is so minuscule it doesn't actually provide any benefit whatsoever, but just for the sake of putting it on their label so they can be like, look, we have this and it does this and it does all this crazy shit. And when it's like, you really just went out of your way to put like 1 milligram of the thing in so you could list it or something.
If you've got I presume they've got a testo booster. But things like, that boron, but they have a milligram of boron in it instead of 10, which is but it looks like it's got everything in. So I think with a supplement needs.
Yeah, some of these because they don't have prop blends. He has every item listed and he has the dose. So.
And the things are evident. Anti-aging.
Yeah, anti-aging. Yes, we've been using the Stragulus a lot, so that's another.
The Stragulus is good in my opinion. I use it too.
Key product. Interesting.
So literally just trying to stay on top. That's the difference with.
So you're taking all of those there, sort of.
Yeah, staple, absolute staple. So hopefully it reflects in blood, but we'll see.
Yeah, we've been like HDL levels and things like that.
Yeah.
In sugars. They do like a glucose one, control.
Yeah, I use a berberine. I use a few different ones sometimes. We got one RPG when it's in stock. I use that obviously, which is a berberine based with I think it's like
bit of melon
extract and a couple of other bits. Maybe a bit.
I'm surprised more bodybuilders aren't just like on a background dose of metformin year round, to be honest. Like they often will use these GDA products, which there's nothing really inherently wrong with them, but it's like metformin's so tried and true. It's like, I don't know why more people don't deploy it or look at incorporating it for health as well as potentially performance if leveraged correctly.
Bit of RA and A in there as well.
Yeah.
So we use those.
Yeah.
If they sell out, then I just grab another bit of berberine. You can get berberine online.
Do you ever check your blood sugars?
I used to, but with Patrick, I haven't felt any fluctuation in them, so I haven't because I felt really stable. Yeah. My last pretty much back down. I was very efficient with the carbohydrate uptake. So.
What about insulin?
I don't use insulin now.
Not at all.
Patrick doesn't like it. Took us totally off it. So obviously with my previous preps, I used to.
It's dangerous.
There's no point. There's no point. You might as well just keep your body sensitive yourself. I've realised now. If you eat the right, this is the problem. Our previous coaches try to eat force feed and they use insulin to try and supplement it. It's bullshit. just eat enough that your body requires and train hard enough to demand it.
Because you actually do have a pancreas, and what it does is it sees sugar and it produces insulin.
Yeah, so let it, rather than...
then force feed carbs.
Yeah,
because pre-training as well.
The problem is people also, they're trying to like add an addition, they're trying to add addition all the time. So with insulin, they're not looking at it, they're not trying to use insulin even to help their self, like to take stress off the pancreas or anything like that. They're like, I want to throw another 100 grams of carbs in. So let's put another 10 IUs in.
Dave Palumbo, stress off the pancreas.
Yeah, but I know, which isn't...
Man, shots fired. Doesn't like Dave Palumbo's theory, I guess.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there's a little bit of insulin talk there as well.
It's just insulin's one of those things, especially when people don't know what they're doing. Insulin is the drug that will kill you if you don't know. In bodybuilding, don't get me wrong, everything else is a slow burner. Let's not get me wrong, steroids do cause issues.
It's
like a myriad of issues if you abuse.
I don't know if this is like, if a lot of bodybuilders have actually died from insulin or not, but like in the clinical literature, it's like people who literally try and kill themselves using insulin are often unsuccessful. So I'm not sure why it got this, I'm not saying it's safe, I'm just saying it got this rap as like the most dangerous thing, when in like, I don't know, like I can't, like I can see how you could get like fucked up pretty significantly if you thought your 10 IU was actually like 100 because you don't know how to count on a insulin syringe or something. But it's like, it's a lot harder than people think, I think. I'm not trying to like argue against it. I'm just saying like that is a pretty big myth that is not backed up in the clinical literature really at all.
But insulin's the one, if you just get that wrong on one day...
Oh, if you've got no... Let's say you took it and you forgot your fucking meal. Yeah. And you're driving.
Instead of like 10 IU, you took 100 IU,
which is
easy.
It's easy to do if you've got the wrong setup.
It's too worrying. And
the other thing as well is I found it had a really detrimental effect on getting in shape.
Yeah. Well,
it holds fluid and you do look very different.
Especially if you're taking it like not around your training, because guess what, where those carbs
are not going anywhere.
I know some people who literally use insulin to lose fat faster. So it's not always about, it's the storage hormone, but it can also be leveraged in certain ways to expedite fat loss if you know where to put it, how to use it, how to integrate it in very specific applications. It's not something that you can just use all the time year round, but it's not really true to just be like, it's going to make it harder to get lean, because I know people who literally use it for that purpose.
Sub-Q, but they're going everywhere and anywhere.
I think that's part of the look now with this just
fullness.
It's just insulin.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to promote insulin, by the way, either. It's like, for fucking most people, it's probably not worth looking at whatsoever. But anyway,
are the guys taking insulin up to these big shows?
I reckon a lot of the other pros
because a lot of them, because you just don't get the cuts anymore. That's what I think. Do you know what I mean?
It does affect separation, and that's something I was trying to say before. Like
bloated.
Because, like you say, if you're holding sub-Q water, then your condition is strong at drawing water.
Yeah, blood pressure's not too bad. 146 over 87. Could be for a guy your size. Yeah.
That's too fucking bad.
You're not hypertensive.
What was that? 146 over 87?
Yeah, blood pressure's not too bad. 146 over 87. Could be for a guy your size. Yeah.
That's too fucking bad.
So this is something I see a lot, especially with like family doctors and stuff, is they will like if you're young and healthy, they will just like disregard a high blood pressure reading and not look into it and just be like, not even say anything. Like you would have to bring it up yourself to even get it like attended to. So he just had a 146 over 87 blood pressure.
Yeah.
That's too fucking bad.
You're not hypertensive. 87. Could be for a guy yeah, blood pressure's not too bad. 146 over 87.
So, and then they say, because you're so massive, that's like normal.
Could be for a guy your size. Yeah.
That's too fucking bad.
So, no, like that's not normal. That's literally stage 2 hypertension, and you're in PCT right now when you're supposed to be the most healthy or the least drug burden throughout the entire year. So if you're at 146 over 87 right now, what's that going to say for the rest of the year when you're using everything else? You know, like that's definitely not a good baseline, like in my opinion. Like this would require like significant intervention, like right now, like aggressively, before you even consider going into anything more. So like for me, this is literally like the progression of kidney failure, like in front of your eyes in a young guy. Like I don't, and among a myriad of other things, unfortunately, like this is one of the most common things, just unaddressed high blood pressure. Like why at your baseline, just because you weigh a lot, it doesn't mean that you should be walking around at almost like literally stage 2 hypertension at baseline. Like that is not a baseline that is something you can really go off of, in my opinion, and really do anything significantly.
You're not hypertensive, let's write that down. 146. 76. Let's have a oxygen.
Now it's like one thing if he just walked in and sat down and got this, but he's been sitting there talking for like 10 minutes So like this is, I would get a few more readings and average it out and kind of get it a few different times a day, like multiple times over the week, and see what the average is. But I mean, like, that's not a good first impression, obviously.
Saturation, this measures how much oxygen in your blood. 95, that's all right, you're warm. Right, let's have a listen to your heart.
So it's like, unfortunately, like all these health sups, it's like, yeah, they can be helpful in different ways, but at the end of the day, if you have a 146/87 blood pressure, it's like at baseline, they're not going to do a whole lot for you, you know? Like, sure, you can like modulate your lipid profile a little bit. Sure, you can increase your EGFR transiently with some astragalus and argue about the telomere lengthening and whatnot. But it's like, all of these things are not going to replace an angiotensin receptor blocker, or an ACE inhibitor, or a beta blocker, or any of this shit that can actually have a major impact on like cardiac remodeling, as well as the stress on your other organs. So like for me, when I see, now I'm not the doctor or anything, but like for me, if I saw a 146/87, I'd be like, bro, like, can I get a fucking ARB, please?
That's cool, your heartbeat's nice and regular. I can't hear any sort of added sounds on your heart. Can you lean yourself forward?
Yep.
So listen to your back. Take a big breath. And down. So the activity of your bone marrow.
Yeah.
So testosterone stimulates your bone marrow to produce a lot of
Yeah.
steroids. We're going to get blood count first. Blood count looks at the activity of and your platelet count. So if we cut you, got cutting croydon.
Yeah.
And we want to the bad fat, so your total cholesterol, your HDL cholesterol and LDL, red blood cells.
So you don't want.
Okay, so it sounds like he's just like explaining what these blood tests are. I'm trying to cut the video off because it's getting long.
Over the 3-month period, their function, you know, we age, don't we?
So
red blood cells, so what they've done to the for where we're at now.
Sweet.
Okay, just going over hematology parameters now to see what you should look out for.
I get them to my hospital this afternoon. They're straight on the analyzer, not like a pinprick blood test that's sent off the red blood cells in the full blood.
Total milk lad.
Right, so these go off to the lab. I will be in contact with you on Friday.
Beautiful.
So what I'll do is I'll send you a copy of your results scanned via your email, okay? And also I will voice record a bespoke report for what I think and little things that you need to be doing. Any questions?
That's what we're going to cup.
Go in a cup. Go do that.
Let's see what he looks like. Bit yellow.
Okay, so just like I'm probably gonna cut it off there because it's not like he actually has the results in this video, it looks like. So like what would I get on top of that? So obviously I don't actually know all of the markers they got. I'd have to see the blood test results to give my full comprehensive opinion and whatnot, as well as to even give my opinion on the results and like some sort of follow-up that should be maybe done. That might be wise to do, but in general, I mentioned echocardiography at the beginning. I would highly advise anybody who is doing this, get a echocardiogram at least once a year of your heart. Ideally every couple of years or every few years, get a ultrasound of your kidneys and your liver as well, just to make sure there's no, the actual function of them is not only on point, but as well that you're not growing like a fucking tumor or they're not falling apart on you. Like this is not something that necessarily is going to get picked up in blood work. Just because you don't have an elevated AST and ALT on your blood work, it does not mean that you're not developing fatty liver or that you're not getting a fucking tumor on it from excessive androgen exposure. There's a million things you're not going to just pick up in your blood work transiently that could otherwise reveal themselves on your actual organs during imaging. And this is why bodybuilders will, you know, suddenly, seemingly at the snap of a finger, when they had healthy blood work, just like, you know, pass away, unfortunately. And it's because a lot of these guys aren't proactively getting imaging of their organs and actually seeing exactly what is going on, like straight up looking at it, not just seeing what's going on in your blood. So yes, blood work is important, but imaging is just as important and often goes overlooked entirely. And yes, it's very cost prohibitive, but it's like this sport is cost prohibitive. If you can afford a year of GH or whatever it is, like you should be able to afford at least an echocardiogram, like in my opinion. As far as anything else, like I would circle back to the blood pressure thing, like the 146/87 or what it was. That's not like pre-hypertension. That's stage 2 hypertension. That is not necessarily something that should just be overlooked as, oh, you're a heavy guy, so it's fine. it's like, yeah, you might be able to get away with it for a long time, but I mean, this is like, it's called the silent killer for a reason. It's something that is going to become more burdensome as you expose yourself to more and more exogenous hormones, as your body weight climbs during the off season. Like, this is literally post-show as far as I know, and there's going to be a, you know, a point where he's going to do a pretty like substantial off season, I would think. I don't know if he's trying to gain more size or what the deal is, but either way, there's going to be a significant amount of time in 2021 where there's more drug exposure above and beyond what he's using, and likely going to, you know, exacerbate things that are currently already not where they should be at a baseline level. So, you know, for me, I think all bodybuilders realistically that are exposing themselves to these drugs should probably proactively be looking at angiotensin receptor blockade. So whether that is through which drug you use specifically and how aggressive you want to go, you know, that's ultimately up for your doctor to decide how selective of a ARB you want, how powerful of one you want. This is like a proactive thing, as well as something that, not just something once you get to stage 2 hypertension you should deploy. Like, I think this is something that should be proactively used to avoid getting to that point to begin with. And this is going to be like probably the most kidney protective thing you can do. This is something that I would highly recommend most bodybuilders look into. Regardless if you're an open bodybuilder or whatever, if you're exposing yourself to super physiological dosages of anabolics, androgens, etc., this is something that should be on your watch list for sure and looked into more thoroughly. And I think a lot of people would probably benefit from it and probably live longer lives if they looked into it more seriously and didn't just brush off a stage 2 hypertensive result. So for me, that is the main thing I would look into if he's not already doing that. But you know, I'm just some fucking guy analyzing stuff on the internet that guys have told me to react to. So this is my reaction. And let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All the comments are much appreciated and they help push the algorithm. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. Follow me on Instagram at @moreplays_more_dates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to check out James, his channel is IFBB Pro James Hollingshead. I recommend, if you're a fan of bodybuilding, definitely give him a follow. He's a up and coming, well, he's not really even up and coming, he's already Olympia qualified. He's a progressing very quickly. Him and his coach seem to have found a winning formula in terms of what they're doing. So obviously very exciting to see him progress and carry on the legacy of his one of his good friends, Luke Sandow, who unfortunately passed earlier